Hello world. Day 19 of my 100-day meditation experience. My name is Alan Brock of Ground Your Divinity, and I'm just here sharing what my experience is. Still got a little bit of my swelling there from the tooth thing. It's kind of fun to look at myself like that. It's kind of funny. So, what is my experience today? I did half an hour of my meditation so far this morning after some exercise. And rather than just sit and kind of be like I've been doing, I just felt after my exercise like I wanted to kind of curl up a little bit. Basically, just come down like this. Just my lower back felt like it wanted to stretch. And so I just said, you know what? There's no rules. Why can't I just do this when I meditate? So I decided to just kind of hold this position for half an hour. And found it very, very therapeutic, very releasing. It's interesting to, just to kind of feel my lower back stretch and release. Also, thoughts kept coming up. There was at least, the part of, am I doing this right? Like, sometimes I've had experiences where I'm engaged and, there's kind of this thought space, and this space opens up inside of me and thoughts begin to come up and surface and release and all of the above. It wasn't quite the same experience, and so there was a piece that's like, well, am I not doing this right? Am I not getting the best out of this? Should I be doing something different? Is this really, all these litany of thoughts kind of kept coming up, and I just stayed engaged with my body and did what I could to just feel the sensations in my body, feel my muscles, feel the fact that I was holding, feel my, the stretching. Welcome. How you doing? Just talking about my meditation experience right now. Thank you. I really appreciate that. If you have any questions, by the way, about meditation, spirituality, anything like that, please feel free to chime in. So, like I said, just staying engaged with my physical body as the senses of my physical body began to grow and my awareness and my presence and groundedness through that, the thoughts just kind of, they didn't seem as strong anymore. They didn't seem as, it wasn't taking as much of my attention, I guess is the best way to put that. They just kind of were there. They were on the surface, but the senses in my physical body began to grow and grow. And I noticed that the thoughts over time began to just start releasing and releasing again. And as the thoughts released and as my senses in my physical body began to increase, my physical release started to happen. I mean, more and more in my physical body, I would notice tensions begin to surface and come up, and I would just breathe into it and relax. And tensions would release, even to the point where physical, gurgling, intestine, organal type stuff, just relaxing and releasing, and more gurgling came up, and just, I could tell that everything in my whole abdominal core was just finally beginning to relax. And a lot of people talk to me about opening up lower chakras and how can you help to engage, and get that foundation. And really what I'm beginning to see is just stay engaged with your physical body, whatever it is that you're doing. Now, it can be done through visualization. It can be done through energy work, breath work, mind stuff. But at the beginning, just building the physical senses. Good question. What kind of meditation do I do daily? Right now I'm doing 2 hours of primarily just sitting and being, just kind of sitting, eyes closed, up like this, and just observing, whatever happens, and noticing as thoughts come up. Although I've begun to play, for a little while, I started playing with this idea of just, I noticed that this viewfinder began coming up, like I have my thoughts or have whatever's happening, emotions on the surface, and this presence has begun to wake up underneath. That is a watcher of all of this, and I began to kind of guide this and play with it, and I could, view my lower chakras and, feel my physical body, or I could view my mind and, feel my thoughts, sense my thoughts. So all that kind of is how I've been playing. Thank you. I appreciate the hearts. What I did today and I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but obviously you weren't here yet, so, was just holding a pose. And today I just chose this to hold, to kind of stretch my lower back out and sit there for half an hour. And I found with that gentle engagement of my body and having some physical senses to come back to, it really, really helped as my thoughts would begin to surface and everything, just have to something to ground myself. And as I kept doing that and kept staying engaged, more and more the thoughts began to subside, they began to release, just kind of lose their impact. And my physical body gently began to just keep relaxing and relaxing and relaxing. So I know that there's a principle that where our mind goes, our energy goes. And where energy goes, healing occurs. And so what I highly recommend for everybody is work on your lower chakras first by staying engaged in your physical body. Like I said, that can be done. Just, you don't have to do any sort of exercise or pose holding to do that. You can just, right on. You can just sit and be and let your mind drift, to your physical body. But at first, if focus is difficult for you, or if your senses are not developed yet, or you have a lot of thoughts running around, I highly recommend that you find some sort of way to engage, like I said, hold a pose, or do something to get your physical body going. I also am a big proponent of grounding yourself first. I've talked about this on multiple videos. Before you even start meditating, just do something like some light tapping around your body, wake up your physical senses, or kind of stand and just shaky, bouncy, for a little while, because it really draws your mind into your physical body. And recognize too, and again, this is only my experience. Everybody, please, allow yourself to have your own. Part of some of my blockages, I guess, have come up in watching other people's experiences. And then I have my own, and I'm like, well, that doesn't quite fit with what they did. Am I messing it up? What's going on? And it took me a little while to realize there's no one right experience. We all have whatever experience we need in the moment to help us grow in the way that we're here to grow. So please, take this as an idea, let it go, and allow yourself to have your own experience, however that flows for you. But I did notice, like I said, is engaging the body, the thoughts would keep surfacing. Is this what I should be doing, not doing? Even thoughts about other things would happen. And as long as I stayed engaged, it kept... can you meditate without even knowing? Just to finish that sentence before, just as long as you stay engaged, and 1 second, I'll answer that. As long as you stay engaged, you're, quote, doing it right. You're okay, and the meditation and the healing effect will take place. Recognize that thoughts are just thoughts. That's it. You don't need to follow them. They don't necessarily even have any that much credibility. In fact, Eckhart Tolle said a great spiritual practice is to not take your thoughts too seriously. So thoughts are just thoughts. Emotions are just emotions. Let them happen. Let them ride on the surface, and just stay engaged with your deep inner being, whether that's in the physical body, whether that's your energy space, whatever it is. And again, my recommendation is the physical body first. And it will just begin to unfold, and the healing will happen automatically. So can you meditate without even knowing? In fact, I think one of my mentors told me, thank you, I'm glad. One of my mentors told me, if you think you're meditating, you're not really meditating. So meditation is, the more I'm engaging with it, is formless, and is just, it's being. And as soon as we try to attach a form to it, or we think, I'm going to meditate now, and I'm thinking about meditating, and then it becomes a thing that we're doing, as opposed to just allowing ourselves and what is to be. So in a sense, some of the truest meditation, I guess, is just without even fully realizing it. Well, I guess, yes, at the beginning layer, right on, thank you. At the beginning layer, we can meditate, without realizing it. I think as our consciousness grows, we're aware of ourselves being, and the being is the meditation, but it's not like, again, it's not like I'm meditating now. So we're conscious that we're in a state of being. So I guess we're aware that we're meditating, but it's not some sort of an active thing that we're doing, if that makes any sense. It's kind of what I'm beginning to see. And I do feel, I know in fact, that as we begin to grow in our senses of being and deepening with our inner self, that all of life can become a meditation. In fact, that's the idea. I mean, again, meditation is just a word that we put on it that has a lot of baggage associated with it. Let go of the word meditation. You know, if the word being works better, or being present works better, or just allowing what is. But all of life, you know, in fact, a Zen master said, somebody asked him, you know, what is Zen? And he said, when I sit, I sit. When I eat, I eat. When I stand, I stand. And the person said, well, yeah, well, so do I. When I sit, I sit. When I eat, I eat. He said, no. He said, when you sit, you're thinking about standing. When you're standing, you're thinking about going somewhere else. When you're going somewhere else, you're thinking about the next thing you're going to do. And he said, it's about being where you are right now, doing exactly what you're doing, and letting everything else go. And so all of life can be that. When you're doing the dishes, do the dishes, and let go of everything else. When you're, you know, working on a homework paper, work on the homework paper. Good question. What word would I use instead of meditation? You know, I don't know if any words would really help. It's a convenient term to use meditation because we all kind of know what we're talking about. But as soon as you put another word to it, let's say we put the word being with it. Well, okay, at first, being has no attachment, right? It just, we're being. You know, there's no attachment, there's no buzzword, there's no baggage with it. And so that works for everybody because it's still kind of in the formless area. But after a while, you keep using the word, I'm being now, I'm being. And then being becomes something you're doing. And now being has just as much attachment as the word meditation. And then it loses its value. So then we go, okay, well, that one's not going to work anymore. So let's say we're going to just allow what is. That's going to be our new word now. We're just allowing what is. Well, okay, great at first, because it's a new thing and there's no attachment to it, it works. But then over time, allowing what is, so now I'm allowing what is. Okay, I'm going to allow what is now. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to allow what it, you know. Then it becomes its own thing with its own attachment and baggage associated with it. So letting anything become, like any word we put to it, if we think that the power is in the word, and we begin to attach ourselves to the word and put stories and baggage around the word, it's going to lose its value. So recognize that any word is a pointer. It's there because we're trying to encapsulate the truth into a very small framework that our minds can understand. And so allow it to be a pointer to this idea, but let the idea be formless. Let the idea, I mean, if you want to use being, if you want to use be a one with all that is, but recognize that any word you use, if used too much or if attached to, is going to end up, it's going to be becoming that thing. So yeah, let go of all words, and if meditation works for us as a society right now, that's cool. But recognize that the power is not in the word, and it can't be. So yeah, I hope that helps. Any other thoughts or questions? So as you're typing, I'll just kind of, let's see. What about the word awareness? Thank you for the hearts. Same kind of idea. I mean, with any word, in fact, I mean, yeah, anything with form, if we attach ourselves to the form, or to the word, or put meaning behind it, that we see, it defies explanation. It's difficult to even put into words. Same basic idea. I guess long story short, same basic idea is that awareness is great as a pointer and as as a general concept. Yeah, exactly. As a concept But as soon as we start attaching ourselves to it, it loses its value. So just, yeah, it's not really about what words we use, I guess. It's the consciousness with which we use the words. If we're aware that words can't encapsulate the truth, and that what we're saying is just kind of a convenient term so we can communicate with other people, great. If we start thinking that that thing is actually it, and we start to put a definition and borders around it and boundaries, and we want to be able to look it up in Webster's dictionary and know exactly what this thing is, then we've destroyed it. So yeah, and I feel that it's that way with all words and all communication. So let it be a pointer. Let it just be a very amorphous idea, and let the idea and the openness unfold from within, realizing that there can't be any definition to truth. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, yeah, it's an idea to help us not really speak about it, but just to lead us to action, to do something with it. Yeah, very good. Or be with it, or whatever words work. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, that's kind of my experience today. If you guys have gotten value out of this, I would greatly appreciate a follow and some hearts, just to help me, move up in the ranks. And then as I get higher, more people will see this, and they will begin hopefully receiving beneficial information. And then one by one, yes, it is all definitely tied to yoga. So yoga is just a Sanskrit word. I think it's Sanskrit. I may be wrong on that. But that means to yoke or to bind, and it basically brings our spirit and our body together. And so that comes through all kinds of different forms. I mean, there's traditional Indian yoga with the asanas and the vinyasa flow stuff, and sun salutations and downward dog and those kind of things that most Westerners know. But there's actually a lot of different branches of yoga. Again, yoga is just binding the spirit and the body. So there's physical yoga. There's also the yoga of right action. There's the yoga of charity, the yoga of generosity. There's all kinds of things that engage our being in different ways to help us open and heal. And so if we're doing right action, and that builds integrity, and that builds, because whenever we do something that is not in integrity, there's a piece inside of us, even if nobody else knows, we know. And there's this little bit of guilt hanging around. So if there's some sort of guilt going on, then our mind and our conscience and our consciousness can't fully engage with our body, because when it does, it feels that guilt. And it's like, ew, that just kind of feels icky, and I know I did something wrong, and it just, So as we continue to cultivate this idea of doing right action by ourselves and by other people, then that clears all that crap out, and then we can fully be one with ourselves. So that is a form of yoga, a form of binding. As we begin to be generous and loving and caring and contribute to the world, we begin to recognize that others and ourselves are all the same, and that we're one big being in different bodies, just hanging out, having a collective experience that appears individual. And so as we begin to do that, we can lose our individual selves. Good question. Hold that thought. So we begin to lose our individual selves and begin to open up to a unity vibe. And so that's another way to, and also it loses our individual desires as we begin to occasionally sacrifice our egoic desires for the good of the whole. Again, that builds unity and bonding between all, and so that's another form of yoga. So there's a lot of different branches and tenets. Physical is just one of them. As far as yoga for youth, I would say there's a few different ideas. One, there's a yoga studio that I happen to go to called Body and Brain Yoga. That's a worldwide chain of yoga studios that does a lot of really cool stuff. It's from a Korean tradition called Sundo, and then a gentleman named Ilchi Lee has modified it or modernized it. And they do some breathing postures, stretching, things like that, work a lot with meridian channels, energy work. They also do a lot of brain education to help kids and adults alike work on healing their brain so that they can use their brains more effectively to create their own reality and help create this world of health, happiness, and peace. So that's an option. In fact, on my YouTube channel, there's a link, bodyandbrain.com, body and brain. So you can go to BODYN, just the letter N, brain, BRAIN.com, and find a center near you. And then if that flows, I would highly recommend it. If that doesn't work for you, then just starting with physical body first. The more we can open up the foundation of our physical body, the more we see that all the emotions and the thoughts, like I said, just ride on the surface, and they don't end up engaging us, and we don't end up being pulled away by them from our center. So building that strong foundation. So through physical poses, through the asanas, the vinyasa stuff of the Indian yoga. I also personally am a huge fan of just anything that engages the body. I love just standing and just bouncing. Consciously, though. It's not about bouncing absent-mindedly. Remember, our idea is to bring our mind, our awareness, into focus and into our body. And so as I do that, I mean consciously feel, your feet, feel your legs, feel the muscles moving, feel the joints moving, feel the warmth that begins to develop in your body, feel the looseness that's happening. And as you begin to engage and feel your body, it draws your mind into your body and creates that pool of energy in the lower chakras. So any of that kind of stuff. And then also, as those begin to develop, having children work with service mindset, in ways that it's not forced. We got to be really careful with that. If we force youth to you need to go volunteer and do this thing because it's good for you, well, that's going to end up, very possibly cultivating a bad taste in their mouth. That's then later on when they get older, they I don't want to do that crap. My mom made me volunteer when I was a kid, and I don't like that. And that destroys the whole effect. But if we can lead by example and go out with them and just, find some way to volunteer, to offer our service in some, small or big way, whatever it is, and then let ourselves be engaged and let ourselves have fun and let ourselves be transformed and bring the kiddos along with it, then that will help them be in this space of, wow, this is actually fun. And this is great to be able to give back to somebody and to help in this way, And I'm not sure if you were a parent or if you're a youth yourself, but if you are a youth, I do recommend jumping out there, finding some way to give back somewhere. You'd be amazed how connecting with somebody on that level and giving something without any expectation of return at all generates this sense of unconditional love and connectedness between us and other people. And the barriers and our walls begin to just kind of fall away. So that's another great practice to help bring your mind and your body and your spirit together. So I hope that helps. Right on. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. So that's what I got today. All that stuff, I pray that it's beneficial for everyone. And again, staying with the lower body, staying engaged, recognize that the thoughts, the emotions that surface are just thoughts and emotions. Absolutely. Loving compassion meditation. Just taking time in, and that's part of what service stuff is as well, but also in your own space. Have you ever had that experience where you're watching an awesome, an uplifting, inspiring movie, and you just get that shiver up your spine and your heart begins to glow and you're just yeah, and you just, and just everything kind of warm, fuzzy flutters inside? That type of feeling can be generated at will. And so, something that I also recommend is sitting and just letting that space grow. Right on. Good. Yeah, that's awesome. So that can be consciously generated. So generate that and then picture a particular person. It's starting off with people that we know that we're close to. That might make it easier, but eventually branching out to where we can just picture the entire world and just have that feeling inside of our chest and just have that unconditional love and picture the world. And even if your visual senses are open and you want to imagine wrapping the world around with that unconditional love, that is a great, great meditation practice. Also, something else to help with us. Yeah, I agree. Something else to help with us in connecting to other people is, and I've heard this from a couple different sources, the phrase "just like me." And what I mean by that is, let's say, because we all have our goods and our bads and our rights and our wrongs, and we do things well and we make mistakes every day. But we tend to have this judgmental mind, like something happens and we're like, wow, that person really did something stupid, and if we just add, just like me, it reminds us to be humble and that we're all one, and they're no different than us, and it also helps foster forgiveness and connection. Or it can be anything, good or bad. This person is beautiful, just like me. That person got really angry, just like me. That person did something really smart, just like me. That person is a jerk sometimes, just like me. And when we can say that, it really helps. Right on, yeah. Yeah, it's because most of the time our judgmental mind, starts separating things. That person was stupid, this person was whatever, and it creates that separation, and I'm over here. But just like me reminds us that we really are all connected. We really are all one. And that's the new awakening and the new consciousness in humanity. And as we can cultivate that, we really will create this world of health, happiness, peace, harmony. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, letting go of all judgment. We will create this world that we know inside is possible. We all have this vision, and it is definitely possible. It just takes our actions. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for the day. Like I said, I recommend everybody stay engaged with your physical body and let that unfold everything else. What's my vision? Without putting too many words on it, I guess. No, that's fine. No worries. I have this vision of, call it heaven on earth, call it a harmonious society, but we all have this idea, at least I'm assuming so, I know that I do, where, because there's a lot of negative stuff going on in the world. And if people could just realize that underneath all of the surface differences, underneath male and female and Korean and American and Japanese and Buddhist and Hindu and Christian and Muslim and whatever else, we're all just humans. We're all just one big family. And if we could let go of all the surface stuff and respect each other's surface stuff and just open up to that place and just treat each other with love and dignity and respect, how much more amazing would this world be, right? And if we can have this place where there's even if we have judgment, we bring in things like the just like me. We unify the fact that we and the other are one. This place where everybody shares the load. I mean, there's a lot of people right now, and don't get me wrong, I have my lazy times as well. I mean, I've certainly moved through a lot of that, but I still have my desires for laziness. But there are some people in the world, just like me, who have a lot of laziness, and they're not really pulling their own weight. I feel that if everybody were to engage and be able to take personal responsibility for themselves, personal responsibility for their body, their mind, their spirit, generating their own income, personal responsibility, yeah, exactly, just like me, personal responsibility for their space, their physical environment, their energy space, their emotions, and just take responsibility for themselves and contribute in some way for society, I think that everybody could share the load and nobody would have to work all that hard. And then we could spend time focusing on meditation and on higher aspects of being and on developing ourselves where this idea of like base level needs, food, clothing, shelter, whatever, is just, it's set, it's provided for. Everybody has it. It's not even a question anymore. We have enough resources on the planet right now to provide everything for everybody. We're just not effectively using them, and we're not effectively distributing them. And a lot of that comes down to this idea of it's either there's laziness. I mean, this is my opinion right now. I mean, different people may see things differently. Right on. Yeah, it comes down to laziness. It comes down to there's not profit in it, or something like that. And so as we can begin to wake up to the truth that we and the other are one. There is no other. There's only one of us here. And if we can treat everybody that way, then of course we're going to want, profit or no profit, we're going to start distributing the resources. We're going to start distributing the food, start distributing everything. And then, it's just going to build from there in this true world of health, happiness, peace, heaven on earth, where we're all taking care of each other, taking care of ourselves, personal responsibility. The environment is cleaned up. We're not trying to seek our happiness from outside and more stuff and more products and more, experiences. And more, we're realizing that true happiness comes from within, and we're living from that perspective. And we still have stuff. We still, play with things, and I'm sure that we may have TV and games or whatever, but the idea is we realize that it's not that makes us happy. Happiness comes from within, always. And I feel that, and we might even let go of all that stuff, I have no idea. But this vision, where we use what we need, we let go of the rest, and everybody just lives in harmony. And we begin to grow each other and grow ourselves in the higher aspects of being, and truly wake up to this idea of God consciousness and embody one spirit in the physical plane, in a way where there is no more need for war and violence and hunger and any of the above, is the vision that I have. And I know it's possible. It's right there. We're so close. It's just, let's continue to wake up as a society, as individuals. Let's take personal responsibility and wake ourselves up, and let that energy just begin to convey to other people and help gently, lovingly, from an unconditionally accepting space, share this with other people and allow them the space to wake up too. And then one person, and then 2 people, and then 5 people, and then 20 people, and it will happen. One step at a time. So that's what I see. May we all be blessed, and may those blessings flow over and bless others. And I wish you a phenomenal day. Much love and take care. Right on. You are most welcome. You are most welcome. Thank you for the hearts. Have a great day.